Taurus. Welcome to your January eclipse reading. The eclipse is tonight, and here we are. It's time for you to, you know what people accuse you of being, but you know that you're not. Like, people can be like, oh, you're so materialistic. Oh, you're so into like what the world thinks of you. You're so into material, possessions. And you can just kind of laugh on the inside and go, sure. You're so carnal. You're so, all those, catchphrases that people have about Taurus. But all of a sudden, January 2020, you start living up to some of that. You do want more. You are concerned with the material. You may want to go back to school so you can get an even better job. You may want to start your own business on the side. You're just tired of being stuck. And to relieve yourself of this tiresome being stuck, look at what it is that you want to do. Reimagining what you do for a living, how people see you based on that, what you dress like or look like when you go to work, how that makes you feel. All of that, you want to revamp now. Nobody's told you to. You just feel like it. And then, as you start this revamping process, all of a sudden, all the ways in which you're hanging on to all the wrong things becomes really obvious. Remember, we had this talk like a year ago when it was like, okay, Taurus, you got to buy new clothes. You got to revamp the look, throw away the old makeup, delete the numbers, block the people. Whenever Taurus becomes aware that they're holding on too tight to something, therefore leaving their hands occupied so they can't receive the larger, better thing, that's when Taurus goes into slash mode. And that's what we want. However, in January 2020, you realize that unlike all those other times, you don't need to go into slash mode. You don't need to use your horns. You don't need to impale yourself. Why are you holding on to this? Why haven't you done this? No. You accept it. You accept yourself. You accept how it is. And you move forward with zero guilt and also a hearty, pat on the back for yourself. It's okay that you've been hanging on too tight. It really is. It's okay. Why? Because in its own way, as the Hanged Man implies, you received a lot of power from it. And there is a lot of power to be had here. An aggressive power that you can use to create what you want, and a quiet power that can be used to devise your next steps. Boy, that's a lot of love, a lot of money and career advice, and very little love advice. Well, I think the revamping of your career, the revamping of your resume, the revamping of your educational pursuits, the going back to school, regardless of what age you are, regardless of if you're doing it to improve your financial situation or because you just really want to. These are the things that will determine, these are the choices that will determine who comes into your life or stays in your life. It is very easy to love a busy Taurus, and it is very difficult to love a bored and scared Taurus. The tea is spilling. And I think you want to be the busy Taurus. I think you want that rebirth. I think you want to be that busy, dynamic, I got this. But then you need to do more than you're doing now in terms of work so you can actually feel that confidence. You know, that slash mode that I was talking about, when you're not confused and you're in the rhythm of this thing that you want to do, regardless of what that level up looks like for you, when you're in the midst of doing that, then it makes sense to go into slash mode. But you also need that Scorpio swag across from you to really get the job done, because a lot of people are going to be pretty upset that you no longer can waste your life making their life palatable to them, even though they keep making all the wrong decisions. Yes, that is what I mean. All right, let's look at these cards. Yeah, it'll make a lot more sense if we do. I love you. Hi, Taurus. Welcome to the second part of your reading. If you hear me pause here and there, it is because I am drinking water, and I suggest you pause this and go get yourself some water and do the same. All right. So as things go, January 2020, and January 2020 being a microcosm for all of 2020, this reading is fantastic, Taurus. Remember that in terms of relationships, especially if you are a Taurus rising, you are a Scorpio. And in terms of your relationship life, there are some shoes still to drop, as the sound just before foreshadowed. You will have to, in the arena of your relationships within January, but also by the end of 2020, there is of course, there is a new you that emerges every year. And you get less and less confused and more wise. And Taurians usually end up being extremely wise by the end of their lives. But you're evolving. To me, it feels like, just from looking at the cards, if I was looking at these cards the way I did when I first started reading on YouTube, which is just to lay them out and just intuitively look at them and say, okay, what is this? Like a puzzle. And that's why I like this new format for part 2. And if you've noticed, part 2 insight is a lot different from part 1. It's because I can look at it like this, and you can look at it with me like a puzzle. You are subconsciously learning how to read the cards the way I read them by looking at them like this with me. So if we look at them together here, to me, it's very obvious that there are 2 different tracks of evolution here. And in one way, you are very capable, and it doesn't matter that you've been stuck, and it doesn't matter how long you've hung on. You're resilient. You're going to get back on there, and you're going to keep working, and you're going to do the thing, and that's just what a Taurus does, right? The field will get plowed. Now, in contrast, there is another you. And that you, I suspect, doesn't have any horns and doesn't have quite a lot of endurance either, and is quite a gentle animal. And that gentle animal has and continues to go through quite a lot emotionally, because in terms of that material that we were talking about at the beginning of part 1, the aspect of you that wants all of that, can handle all of that, is doing just fine. But the aspect of you that has been in this hanged man situation and doesn't care about money and doesn't care about material, but has very deep emotional needs that are not being met. And because they're not being met, they're becoming fearsome. That's always the fear with Taurians. A lot of Taurus women, for example, will be celibate for long periods of time and then become quite afraid that, maybe it won't happen ever again, or maybe things will change too much, or maybe they won't be desirable anymore, and then they'll just go randomly sleep with someone and defeat the whole purpose of years of celibacy being some sort of an attempt at purity or something. I don't know, some misguided attempt, I should say.
Not that they couldn't have been pure. I'm just saying I don't think celibacy is necessarily could be equated with purity, but I see what people drive at with that. Okay. So in terms of that emotional life, the needs are deep, and from the look of that card there, it doesn't look like they're being met, and from the look of this one here, it really doesn't look like they're being met. So, unlike every other time that we've spoken about this, in January 2020 and in all of 2020, God willing, you will use that Scorpio wrath and venom to finally not just cut away the fat, but really butcher the whole thing and take the good parts and leave the rest. There is a ruthless side of you. Like I said, it's the Scorpio side. And I think that side of you is very necessary now when it comes to emotions. And I'll tell you why. Because I think as you go back and forth in your head between being this slick, ruthless, material, attracting bull, while you vacillate between that and the gentle, painfully aware and intuitive cow, between these two extremes here, there is a lot of angst, a lot of back and forth, and one of them wants to win. And the one that's going to win is the one that you value most, and the one you value most is the one that you spend the most time with, but the one you should be spending the most time with is the emotional one. And how do you do that? Four of Wands, Four of Swords. Rest, 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 rest. That's how. We're going to go straight into the extended preview. Okay, it's just a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes of what's in the extended. So when people are saying the video got cut off at the end, no, it didn't. It's just a preview. The video, the reading is over now. The extended begins in just a second. Links for private readings and for London. Apologies about the other link not working. Links for private readings and London below. Love you. Happy New Year. Hi Taurus, welcome to your extended. Okay, I've got another glass of water here. I suggest you get one as well. So here we go. The overthinking is scary, huh? This here, to me, says that if you're not working, you're trying to mess up the parts that are working. The overthinking has everything to do with you needing to win. And the needing to win with you guys can be so undercover. Aries takes all the flack for that. But no. You guys do it too. You may not need to get to the top of the mountain, but you need to be first. But you want to be first, but you want to walk slow, so it's confusing. You just don't want it to be a race. You want it to be an endurance contest. But there is a prize, and perhaps if we keep our eyes on it, we will be able to navigate what otherwise can be very prosperous but very choppy waters. The fear being that financially everything will go swimmingly, and emotionally one ends up feeling empty. Because we know that for all the talk of material, some would say even to the level of avarice with Taurians, it's really nothing of the sort. It's more just a very sensual person. There is no selfishness to it, just a desire to experience it, to feel it. And the Four of Wands is really what is going to make you happy. And I know that's not what we're talking about or what we're supposed to be talking about. I know we're just supposed to be talking about what's supposed to happen, and that's all, and that's it. But isn't this what makes you happy? I mean, sure, you like to work. Sure, you like money. Sure, to a certain extent, you like to be first, like I said. And who doesn't love getting out of a toxic rut? But what makes you happy? Not what satisfies you, not what isn't too bad. What genuinely makes you want to celebrate?